thank you everyone for joining us for our Navigating Windows Basics Computer Tech class. Just to kind of give everyone a background, some of the things we're going to talk about, you've heard these terms before, you already know them before, so it's kind of like, well, why are we talking about this? Doesn't everyone know this? No. Maribel Martinez, who's also a TPF tech coach, who's also really active and skilled and an expert in the digital access space, refers to something called fragmented digital skills, which is something we all have. Like in our tech skill learning journey, like we skip steps and really learned how to do stuff in technology that relates to our everyday life. So if Word is not relevant in my everyday life, then I don't know how to do it. I learned how to do the things that would allow me to send the emails, that allow me to do my job or help me do certain tasks in my personal life. So some of these things we're going to learn today, especially the basics of like a computer or like a mouse or a hardware, there's going to be some terms that you've heard before, but maybe you never had a definition. And the reason why it's kind of important to kind of go to the beginnings and go kind of like to the computer literacy is because as you engage in future tech classes, you're going to hear some of these terms. And I want you to feel confident enough. You may not remember the full definition, but you have an idea of what it is. And especially when I was just kind of providing informal tech support to different TPFers, like sometimes I would be like, open this tab or close this tab. Some people don't even know what a tab is. So missing out on the basics can make it a little bit challenging for you to understand, learn, or engage with some of the more, I won't say complicated, but some of the more involved tasks. I want to just kind of go back to the basics and make sure everyone feels comfortable with the language, or at least you have a resource that you can refer to, which is this PowerPoint, in case you forget what some of these words mean. I am not a tech expert, and some of these terms I've heard them when you are like trying to troubleshoot what's wrong with your computer, or when you do ask for tech support, like they'll refer to these terms, and it's just now that I'm saying, oh, so that's what it means when it says like my RAM is running low or limited CPU. I'm like, I didn't know what that was, and I didn't necessarily care. All I know is just like fix it, tech support guy, and then they would do it. So this is not in an effort to make everyone become tech support, but wanting you to become familiar with the language and comfortable with the language and getting the opportunity to try out some things that you may not have known before. Like not everyone knows how to make a screenshot on Windows. Not everyone knows where the screenshot goes. Or some of us have Zoom, some of us do recordings on Zoom. Where do our recording goes? How do I create files on my Windows? And some of these basic stuff like that. Does anyone have questions for me before we get started? Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Once I share my screen, I lose sight of everyone. So if you have questions, please just start talking and I will stop so I can see who's talking. But if you raise your hand or anything, most likely I can't see you. Sharing my screen, my slideshow, moving this. Can someone just confirm that you can see the PowerPoint?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, awesome. Navigating Windows. So whenever we think of a computer, we always think of like our laptop or our desktop. But technically, that's not the only thing that's a computer. It includes those things, but it's also our tablets, our iPhones, our smartphones. I know a lot of us have our smartwatches. All of those technically fit under the umbrella of a computer. So it's not just the whole desktop monitor setup. If you have a laptop, you have a tablet, you have a smartwatch, those fit under the category of a computer as well. The main parts of a computer is the hardware, the software, which is something we often hear a lot of, but until like I had to build this curriculum, they were just kind of intertwined in my mind. But the hardware, like the physical part of the computers, the mouse, the internal parts, the motherboard, versus the software is a whole bunch of instructions. A lot of times it has to do with applications. A lot of times, like your Microsoft Word, your Outlook, your Excel. Those are a set of instructions telling your hardware or your computer what to do. There are two types of personal computers, desktop computers, laptop computers, we can say, and those are Windows. No, those are PCs and those are Macs. So Windows is an example of a PC. And then if you have like an iMac, one of the Apple type computers, you have a Mac PC. And the pictures below are just a couple of examples. The picture on the bottom, that's an example of a hardware. The one in the middle is a whole bunch of applications for calendar, for Google, for photos. Those would be an example of a software. And then the image on the right are examples of different types of computer beyond what we might think of just my desktop. But computers come in different shapes and sizes. Operating system, that's like kind of going back to the language thing that Marla talked about. Your computer's operating system is almost like the language your computer speaks. There's three main operating systems. There's Windows, which I think all three of us are on today. There's Mac OS, which if you have any Mac computer type, that's the language that it speaks. And there's Linux, which is the third one. Not as common, but so whenever you're using a computer, the language of the computer, the same way we either speak English, Spanish, French, or bilingual, the language your computer speaks is either going to be Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And surprisingly, something that I learned is that there's more people using the Windows. There's more people who have computers who speaks the Windows language than Apple. So, quick fun fact, Mac users account for less than 10% of global operating systems. I was like, wow, okay. There's not as many people using Macs as I thought. And a lot of things, it can just be preference. Sometimes people just prefer Windows over than Macs, which is okay. As long as it does what you need it to do, that's what's most important. Then we have computer case, which is, I think, I'm seeing less of that now. But a lot of times, whenever we think of computers, we think of like the monitor and we think of that little box that we put under our desk. So the thing that's on the desk that we look at the graphics, that's your monitor. And then the tower case, that thing where we would put in our CD drives or where we hook in our keyboards, where we hook in our mouse, that's called a tower. Nowadays, most computers are coming all in one where, like, for example, I have like a Mac at home and all I have is like the monitor. Like I have no small tower box on the ground. Everything that I need, like my mouse and my keyboard, they're all connected just into the computer monitor in itself. And I guess that's to alleviate space. It's all in one to make it a little bit easier. So this is an example of the tower case, and this is the example of your monitor. Main components of a computer, motherboard, central processing unit, and power supply. And once again, I will send this out again in the follow-up email. The expectation is not you're gonna memorize this, but I'm gonna send this as a helpful resource in case you're ever like, I have no idea what this means again, or I just need an example or a way to remember it. This is just a helpful resource. Or if it comes up in a future tech class, you have some idea of hearing that before. You can also just Google it. There's no shame in that. Keyboards, mouse. Keyboard is one way to communicate with your computer. It allows you to type. Your mouse allows you to communicate with your computer, allows you to point, select stuff, move them. If you don't want to use a mouse, you can use a trackball or you can use a touchpad. A lot of time your laptop will have a touchpad. So instead of having like a mouse, you just have this pad where you kind of move your fingers around to be able to navigate your pointer along the screen. Peripherals, anything that you plug into your computer is a peripheral. Some people that might be a webcam, it might be their phones that you plug in, it might be a microphone, it might be a speaker or headphones. I know sometimes I've had in the past where I've had to troubleshoot an issue and my Windows computer was like, there's something wrong with the peripheral connected to your computer. And it's like, what the heck is a peripheral? So anything that you connect to your computer, typically using a USB, like a printer, speaker, headphones, that is a peripheral. So your computer is telling you that something you connected a lot of times to the tower, the tower thing on the floor, there's something wrong with it. So that is a peripheral. Just some additional terms. I think a lot of times what you'll hear especially is like RAM and hard drive. So I'll focus on those two. Your RAM is your computer's short-term memory, and your hard drive is your long-term memory of your computer. And then CPU, is the brain, the central processing unit. That's essentially the brains of your computer. Apps, I think that is the most familiar term that people are familiar with. Applications, once again, is software that allows you to perform a specific task. If you have a calendar app, it allows you to keep track of your events, to create events, to send calendar invites. If you have a time app, tells you the time. If you have a media player app, it allows you to play audio files. That is essentially like the lecture part of this tech excellence class. I don't know if anyone has any initial questions on what we may have seen in the PowerPoint. And I fed through it a little bit, but because of the pre-work, but essentially, Elsie, the PowerPoint, and there were just a couple of videos that kind of talked more in depth about these different elements in the pre-work.
I know that a lot of we use the Windows, but you know how sometimes they update Windows, you're on window, whatever series it is, but it doesn't, when you update it, sometimes it's not talking to the other software that you might have. Is there, I mean, do you feel that the updates on the Windows are good in your opinion? Or...
So I will just tell you experience. So I have crossed over to the other side of the Mac world for a couple years.
Okay.
But my brother does have a Windows computer. I would say updates. In theory, the goal is to upgrade your computer and the way it works. But like anything, sometimes there are bugs. So there are times you do the update and then all of a sudden everything that was working fine, now it's like horrible. Now things are glitching and they're not working the way that they're supposed to. Some people have said that whenever there's a new update, they tend to wait to kind of see what's the general reaction of the Windows user population to see if anyone is saying, oh my goodness, my computer stopped working. And now there's a whole bunch of glitches. And if there are glitches, they're like, I'll hold off on that particular update until they do another update, fixing the glitches of the previous one. Keep in mind, sometimes like your Windows will prevent you from using it if you don't do certain updates sometimes. So that's something
Okay.
really good or bad. We hope that the people who are doing the update eliminate as many glitches and bugs as they can, but that's not always the case. So it's kind of a catch-22. You can say, well, I'm not going to update. Eventually, you're going to have problems because Windows is going to block you from doing certain things until you do that update. But there are times you may do the update and things start to go bad. But that's not because you did anything wrong. It's just the update is like infecting your computer with some craziness. Any other questions that people may have? Okay. Now I'm gonna go move into the portion of where I kind of demonstrate some stuff on my screen. Once again, like I said, some people may know these things, but some people will not, which is why it's just important to walk through them and see what questions people have. And no question is a dumb question. So you can see my desktop at this time. This is your desktop. You can have icons on your desktop if you want. Some people like to keep it plain. I think one of the most important things people need to know and understand is what's in their settings. Because a lot of times people are like, I want to change this, I want to change that, but they don't know where they go to be able to change certain elements of their display or on their computer to be like how they want it to be. So with settings, you essentially have like a lot of power to change things within your computer. We're going to start with system. If you have multiple displays, you can fix the settings so that you can see on two screens. That's this one. If you don't have two displays, then you don't need to worry about that. If you want your computer to be a night light, you can. It'll dim down a little bit. And keep in mind, since everyone may have a different version of Windows, these might appear a little bit differently, but it's going to be available somewhere on your Windows computer. Just keep that in mind. Display, just changing how things appear on your computer. If you want it to be a night light at night, it can do that for you, or just dim down exactly as a night light would. Personalization, I know sometimes people like adding backgrounds, like a family picture, a picture from your recent vacation. They want their background to be a certain picture. They have default ones, that you can change it to, or you can put your own. And to do your own, you would just click on browse, and then you would go to your pictures, and you would just have to make sure your picture is somewhere on your computer. I don't really have any pictures on this computer because it's my work computer. And then you just select it, and then you would notice that your entire background would be whatever picture you wanted it to be. And then just talks about how do you want it to appear? Do you want it to fill your entire screen? Do you want it to fit just perfectly on your screen? Do you want it to be stretched out? Do you want it to be in tiles, centered, or spread out? And I have two displays, so it might appear a little bit wonky on mine. I'll stick with the water one for now. That looks kind of cool. If you want to add some color to different things, you can. If you want to do a lock screen, if you want to change things. Once again, this all has to do with how your computer display is displaying. If you want to change the fonts, you can do that. If you want to change what things are available in the start button, which is right here on the lower left-hand corner. If you want to change things that are on your taskbar, which is on the bottom, you can do that. So this is really just making sure you feel comfortable, because sometimes people feel afraid messing with their settings because they think that they're gonna mess things up. No, you're fine. If you do gaming, you can set up certain shortcuts to help you. Going back to what Marla said, whenever there is an update, once you go to settings, there's a whole category for it. This does not, so some people, their computers are automatically update whenever there is one. If you don't want your computer to automatically update whenever, you turn this off. If you want to check to see if there's an update, mine is already up to date. If it wasn't up to date, there'd probably be an X and it would tell me that there's more updates available. Optimization, security. Do you want your files to be backed up somewhere in case, this is in case if your computer were to crash? Like you could try to save, you would probably save all your pictures in like a CD or in like a flash drive, whatever you prefer. If you need help troubleshooting your computer, Windows has like a fix-it tool where it would run some tests on your computer and then a message will spit out telling you what's wrong with it. You may not know what to do with that information, but that might be helpful if you're trying to get tech support. Recovery, I would say that's really important if you haven't done that already on your Windows computer. Recovery is saving a version of how your computer is today. So if I created a recovery of my computer today, everything that lives on my computer would be stored somewhere in my hard drive. And if tomorrow my computer were to crash, I would go to recovery and tell it to please recover the life of my computer on January 19th so that I don't lose everything. But the recovery is only as good as when was the recent, as it's only as good as when you last created that recovery existence. So if my recovery is from like 10 years ago and my computer breaks down tomorrow, like a lot of things have changed since 10 years ago. So I'm still going to be losing a lot. Any questions that people may have on recovery?
Yes, I have a question. So you're on the recovery page right now.
Yes.
Is that what is there setting on there that you need to keep on to make sure you get your recovery?
No, you essentially have to create it right here. Especially here is we'll give you information. Create a recovery drive. It's not something you can turn on. It's something like you have to tell us. It's almost like you have to create different lives for your windows, like a live from a month ago, a live from today, a live from 2 days ago. You have to tell your computer when you want to create a recovery package. So it's not something that it will do automatically from itself.
Okay, thank
But
you.
it's something, yeah, it's something that you have to do. I wish it would do it automatically, but a recovery, like that package that you're telling your computer to create, it's a lot. Imagine how many things you have in your computer. So it's a lot. So you can't have like, I don't even think you can have multiple, because I don't think that your computer can handle like two different versions of itself and still function the way you want it to function. Activation, your find my device. If you connect your device to your Windows computer, you'll have the ability, if you ever lose your phone, to be able to find it through this. I haven't used that, so I can't give you too much information on it, but your computer does have the ability to find your phone. Is it every phone? I don't know that. There might be, once again, keep in mind, if you have a Windows computer and you have an Apple phone, getting them to sync, or once again, they even like your phone speaks a different language. So trying to get your phone to talk to your computer, if they're on two different languages, doesn't always work the way you would want it. Devices, anything you have connected to your tall tower on the floor or to your laptop is gonna show up under devices. So I have a mouse, I have a keyboard connected, I have a speaker connected. So sometimes when your device is having issue, come here to see what's going on. If you need to add a device, usually it automatically recognizes it, but sometimes you have to do it manually. And this is where you would do it. If you want to see the printers that you have connected, the mouse. If you want to change how your mouse interacts with your computer. If you want to change how your keyboard interacts with your computer, how it identifies misspelled words, whether you want to add a space after selecting something. So once again, I just want you to know that there are opportunities to customize your computer to an experience that works for you. If you want to find all the apps that you have on your computer, this is really helpful because in this day and age, space is so limited. And so sometimes your computer will be like, we're running out of space. And the best way to get space is to delete an app that you don't use, which can be hard because sometimes we use all the apps. And it starts with well, it's not in order, but right here, wherever it says gigabyte or megabyte, that's telling you how much space these particular apps take up on your computer. At one point, I had known this, but I forgot, but gigabyte is the largest one. Gigabyte is the largest one. I think it goes KB to megabyte to gigabyte, but I just know for sure that the gigabyte is the largest one. And if you're wanting to install it, you would just click on that app and install it. Keep in mind, some apps come with your Windows computer by default, and you cannot delete them. For example, these are your default apps. So that means whenever I open up an email, it's automatically going to use Windows Mail app. But if I don't want you to use the Mail app, what if I wanted to use a Gmail or a Firefox? I would select the Mail app and select a different one. So that way, whenever I click on an email, instead of clicking on the recommended Mail app, it's automatically going to open Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. Not to say you have to change it, but just letting you know you have the option to change it if you want to. These are the defaults, but you don't have to stick with it. Like I know a lot of people, I don't know if people typically do use Microsoft Edge, but if you prefer to use, once again, Firefox or Google Chrome, you would just tell your computer that whenever I click on a link to open a website, I want it to be through Google Chrome and not through Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer. Whenever you click on an address, it's going to be opened by maps.windows. If you don't want that, turn it off. Video playback. This is telling your computer how do you want it to play videos using the media player. Startup. Apps that you can customize when when you first log in to your computer. Why you would want to do that, I'm not quite sure. but these are part of your startup apps package. Ease of access, this is for accessibility, hard of hearing, blind, deaf. This is where you would go to customize your computer for ease of access. Want to link your phone to your computer? You can. It says that it does take iPhone. You'd have to play around with that to see if that's really true. If you need to add additional accounts, this is how you would do it. Network, if you want to see you're connected to the internet, or if you need to disconnect and reconnect again because there's just something wrong happening, this is where you would do it. If you need to adjust the time and the language in the region, like if you bring your laptop to another country, it should theoretically just automatically, it should be able to sense where you are and change the language and the time so that it matches, but that doesn't always happen. So this is where you would do that. And then privacy. This whole section is dedicated to privacy. That's where you control whether you want your camera to be able to access your entire screen, you want other people to access your phone, do you want apps to know your location, do you want your camera to know your location, all about security. So a lot of times when there is an issue or you need to customize your internet access, the time on your phone, your display, you are going to go to settings. And once again, you go to your little start button, and settings is right here because it's really important. Another thing, any questions that anyone has on that before I go to the next thing?
I guess my only question is, I mean, I know like a lot of those things are personal preference, but is there anything being like a new, like if you had a new computer, like you automatically suggest definitely?
Oh my goodness, sorry, Lindsay, you're breaking up for me a little bit. Do you mind trying to repeat that one more time? Or perhaps trying to drop it in the chat. I'm sorry about that. Okay, now I heard you say quite clearly, but as soon as you were talking, I couldn't hear it. Okay, Lindsay is chatting. Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead and drop your question in the chat. I don't know what's happening with the internet. All are just personal preference, Lindsay. If there's something that you would really need to do, your computer already has that setting enabled for you. I would just say the only thing I would recommend is creating a recovery on your computer because our devices are really like such an extension of ourself now. Like we keep a lot of information, especially pictures, like pictures of memories with our families, our children, our grandchildren. And so, things happen where our computer might crash one day and it does not want to open. And even like a tech expert is not able to retrieve all those wonderful things that we stored on our computer. But if you create that recovery, it's like saving a copy of your computer on that particular day that you created that recovery. So maybe if like a year from now your computer does crash and it refuses to allow you to use it the way you used to, you have that recovery as a way of opening up the package of what your computer looked like on January 19th. You might still lose stuff, but you won't lose as much stuff.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. The next important thing to know is this is your toolbar, as I said, but you can save applications to your toolbar for quick and easy access. So for example, I use the Zoom app a lot. So I've saved it to my toolbar. How do you do that? Well, once an application is open, by default, it will appear on your toolbar. And then you right click on that application, and then you have the ability to pin it to your taskbar. That's really for applications that you use a lot. That might be Microsoft Edge. That might be Google Chrome. It can be whatever you want. Just if you want a quick and easy way to access the apps that you use in your everyday life, just open it, and when the icon appears on the toolbar, right click and pin it. And then if you're like, well, I don't like this being in my taskbar anymore, or my taskbar is getting too filled, I need to clear it up a little bit. Unpin, and then it goes away. Now you no longer have a shortcut to accessing it anymore. If you don't have it already, File Explorer is one thing. You certainly do want that on your taskbar because you will use that quite often. That is how, let me just click on it. Anything you have on your desktop, anything you've downloaded is going to be in your File Explorer. Anything you download on the internet is going to come here and live here until you give it its next home. Its next home. So I would say that is definitely worth pinning to your taskbar. Anything you have on your desktop, this will be a quick and easy way of seeing what's on your desktop. How do you even put something on your desktop? Well, you drag and drop it. For example, this picture of Carly. If I wanted it to be on my desktop, I would just drag it. Just drag it. And it's telling me that you already have a file with her face on it. Are you like, what do you want to, are you sure you want to have are you sure you want to have two icons of Carly face on your website? And then I can be like, yeah, you're right. Let's cancel that. But if you want something to be on your desktop, you just move it over there. And why would you want something to be on your desktop? Once again, just creating a shortcut for yourself, quick and easy way to open that document, quick and easy way to open that picture, quick and easy way to open whatever that thing I open on a daily basis and on an hourly basis. Everything you download is going to go into your download section. You can kind of filter it the way you want. You can filter it by name, which I would click it, and now it'll filter everything by name in ABC order according to date. So everything I opened today has been alphabetized for me. Or maybe I want to do it by date. That is really a hard word, in ABC order. Or maybe I want to do it by date. It'll put in order for me. Or maybe I want to do it by type or by size. And you may be wondering, well, why would I even want to filter this? Can't I just scroll down? Well, depending on how often you download things, it may not be ideal to be scrolling through everything to find that one document that you're looking for. So kind of filtering it by name, date, type is just to kind of help you in your search process.
How do you delete it if you didn't want it?
Not a problem. You right click it.
Okay.
And then you can do many things with it. You can edit the name of it. You can create a new one, or essentially going to what you just said, Marla, all the way at the bottom is how you
Okay.
delete
Thank you.
and how you rename. And keep in mind, everything here is taking space on your computer, specifically the hard drive. And so I was trying to see if I can find. So yeah, I think I was pretty correct in saying that in terms of sizes, it does go KB. I don't even know what the K stands for. Then it goes MB for megabyte, and then GB for megabyte. So looking at this is 31 KB, so it's not that big. If it was 31 GBs, that's a huge file that's taking up a whole bunch of my storage. And so once you get that little notification from Windows saying that you are approaching your computer's storage limit, that means you need to start coming to your downloads and start deleting stuff. And if you're only deleting like a couple of files that end with KB, you're not really making much of an impact. You really need to start deleting stuff with the MBs or especially the GBs. And the GBs that's going to be like your videos or your pictures. They just take a lot of space on your computer. Anyone have questions on that? And once again, these are things, once again, going back to the computer basics, like how often have we seen this language and we just kind of like, we look at it and we do something else. It's like, I don't know, like, why would I need to know that? Or no one has ever taught me or made it seem like I needed to know what these sizes mean. Not something really you need to memorize, but just helpful, especially when it comes to maintaining your device's storage. The closer you approach the maximum storage of your device, the more you're going to notice it starts to slow down. Documents. This is where your documents will live. So often if you do have Word and you're creating Word documents, this is where it would go. For those who do have Zoom, if you ever do a Zoom recording to your computer, automatically Zoom is going to create a Zoom folder for you in your documents within your computer. And it will arrange it for you by date and by name of the meeting for you, just as a tidbit or a good thing to know. How do you create a new folder? You right click and then you create new. How do I move a folder? Like if I wanted to move this podcast folder, you select it or click it and you're gonna hold and you're gonna drag it to wherever you want it to go. But I actually don't really want it to move. But if I wanted to, I would just let it go wherever. If I wanted to go to my desktop, if I wanted to go to Premiere Pro, I would just let it go. I would just let it go. Any questions people may have on the file folder? Music, any audio files you have will go to music, any videos you have will go to videos. So some things will automatically be placed for you, just depending on the nature of the file, but some things you will have to move where you want it to go. I think Lindsay may have unmuted yourself for a question.
Oh no, I'm good. No question. Thank you.
Okay. Another helpful tip is at the top here, you'll see something that says view. And I can make this bigger so no one is stretching. Once again, going back to personalizing your computer so it works in a way that makes sense for you so that you can go about your everyday life. View is really you customizing how things appear, how different files appear in your file folder. For example, I like seeing the icons because in case I read the name and I have like no idea what it is, I like having that little picture preview of what the document is. So as I'm looking for something, I may not remember the name of what it's called, but I might remember what it looks like. But some people, their brains don't work like that. They just want a list of stuff and they'll easily be able to figure out which document thing they're looking for. Which that's okay too, just a different way of thinking. So you can either have it as icons, huge icons, small icons, tiles, large icons. So once again, just a matter of what your preference is. Like I said, I like having the icons because I like seeing the pictures of what I have on my computer. And it makes it easier for me to delete stuff. Like if I don't want this, and you can delete more than one stuff at a time, going back to what Marla said. How do you do that? I just select all of them. Right click again, and I delete it. Where do all the things you delete go? Well, it goes to your recycling bin. Since once again, I have two screens, you can't see everything, but one of the things I have on my desktop or my other one is this recycling bin. Everything you delete goes to the recycling bin. When you open it, this is my recycling. Oops, let me open it. Right now, I don't have anything in my recycling bin because I already emptied it.
How often do you empty it?
When I remember, it would be good to do it. And until you delete it out of your recycling bin, it's still taking up storage on your computer.
Okay.
So you delete it. So when you initially delete, you delete it to go into the trash can. To really get it off your computer, you got to go to your recycling bin right click and empty it. And then it's gone.
I never knew that. I just thought the recycling bin disappeared after like 30 days or something.
And that's a good question. I actually don't know if it disappears after a certain day, but I know for me before, like when I came back after the new year, I was like, okay, I need to start fresh. Delete. But yes, some platforms, like if you use Google Drive and stuff, or if you have Google Photos, not Google Photos, if you have Apple Photos, some places when you do delete stuff, they put it into the trash as like a 30-day holding place until you make up your mind. Do you really want this to go? Or do you want to keep it back? And after 30 days, they will delete it for you. I have not heard that about Windows though, so you might have to manually delete it. And once it's gone, it's gone. There's no getting it back unless you saved it somewhere else. That's not your computer. Back. Before I go, oh, there was one thing also I wanted to talk to everyone about are different file types. Because sometimes people will try to upload something. It could be for a job application. It could be for like a government program. It could be even for your health portal. Sometimes you try to upload something and the computer is like, no, upload denied, or this upload is not in the right file format or file type. Has anyone ever encountered that? Really happy to hear you have it, but nonetheless, I'm going to give you some bits of knowledge just to increase everyone's digital literacy of what it means for file type. For example, as you can see on my screen, I have different types of files. After the period, they all have like a different ending. A lot of these are PNG. Well, all of these are PNG. That's great. Let me go to downloads. Let me go to downloads. So here, this is a better example. After the period, after the name of the file, they all have a different file type. You have docx, you have PDF, you have MP4, you have XLX, whatever that is, you have JPEGs. All of this is communicating to you what type of file this is. Is it an image file? Is it an editable document? Is it not an editable document? Is it an audio file? Is it a movie file? Is it a video file? So that's really what those three letters mean. Whenever you see docx, and I will send this to you guys in the follow-up email. You can still take notes, but I will send that to you in the follow-up email. Whenever you see docx, that means it's going to be a Word document. Whenever you see docx, it's going to be a Word document. Whenever you see PDF, it's going to be a document that you cannot edit. All you can do is look at it. You can't edit. Like it's kind of locked. Imagine like a locked version of a Word document. You can look at it, you can click on the links, but you can't change anything. MP4 is always going to be a video file, so it's going to have video and sound. Versus I don't have one here, but if it said MP3, that's going to be audio only. So it's not a video, you can only listen to it. And then I have a JPEG here. JPEGs, JPG, or PNGs, that means it's always going to be a picture. It's always going to be a picture. JPEG, PNG, the file is an image. Why should I know that? Because a lot of times when you upload something to a computer, the system will sometimes require you, it can only be a this, it can only be a that. So if I'm trying to upload a resume to like get a job, they sometimes are like, please upload a resume. Sometimes they'll be like, it can be a Word. Sometimes they may be like, it needs to be a PDF. Well, if it needs to be a PDF and I only have a Word, I have a problem because the system will not accept that format that you're trying to send it in. Any questions people may have on that? Once again, the file format thing, it's a thing that's good to know. Do I expect you to remember all that? No, but I'll send it to you in a handy dandy little follow-up email just so you have it available as a reference. Yeah, you can just type it up each and every time, and I encourage you to do so if you're like lost or like you forget, but you can do that. And going back to our example, well, what if I only do have a Word resume and they're asking me to have a PDF? Well, what do I do? Does that mean I can't apply for the job? When we get to the internet, I'll show you some helpful websites that will actually do the conversion for you. If you have a Word and you need it to be a PDF, it will make that transformation for you. Before we leave the Windows platform thing, I would like to ask, does everyone know how to make a screenshot on their Windows computer?
Is it control print screen on the keyboard?
Yes, that is definitely one. I know another one, Lindsay, but as long as you know how to do it, that's what's most important. I will demonstrate to everyone how to do it. Essentially, they're both of it is just using the snipping tools. Essentially. So a lot of times, TPF, whenever we have like an event, a virtual event, we always like to take screenshots. But I've often asked people say, well, how are you doing that? I typically just, take out my phone and take a screenshot that way. Which you can do that. Just know that the image quality won't be the best just because it's going to be pixelated a little bit. So in order to do a screenshot on Windows, I do click on the Windows button. I click on the shift and I click on the S button. And I will unshare my screen so everyone can try this. But you really got to do it all at once. And then everything becomes a little bit black. And now I have like this little cursor available where I can select what parts of my screen do I want to take a screenshot of. Did it freeze for
You said
everyone?
Windows.
Was that, what did you say, shift what? F or S?
Let me do that. Windows plus shift plus S. You have to do that all together.
Windows shift S, okay. Shift S.
And when you do it together, like a little capture, like your screen is going to get dark and you're going to have the ability to select what parts of your screen.
Oh, wow.
So I'll let everyone play around with that.
That's magic.
Yeah.
Good job.
And then as soon as you take that screen, as soon as you let go and it takes the picture, you're going to see the little picture pop up on the right-hand side of your screen. As soon as it appears, you need to click on it because you need to save it. So when it does appear, I want you to click on it. And I will walk through these steps again. As soon as it does appear, I want you to click on it because now we need to save it. And this is the button to save it right here. This little, to me, it looks like a printer, but this little icon will allow you to save it to your computer. Now I'm going to walk through that again, just to make sure everyone was. Marla, how you doing? You're on mute. Yes, how you doing?
Okay. I'm going to go hit.
Windows Shift S.
Yeah. Did it take it?
And then when you click on Windows Shift S in quick succession, your screen is going to get dark, but you should see your cursor becomes like a little crossroads. Or what does appear when you do Windows Shift S?
When you say window, I don't understand. Like I hit shift
Do you
and
have the one? Are you on your laptop or on like a
then
desktop?
laptop.
Laptop. Do you have the Windows button on your laptop?
I does not indicate it. So that's what I'm saying. Is there a
The
Okay.
little 4 boxes, squares.
It's like there should be a key, and if there's not, that's okay, because there's other ways to do it. Like Lindsay just said, like another way that she does it, so that's okay. You may adapt how you do it depending on if you're using a desktop or a laptop.
okay?
Now moving, getting some stuff out of my way. As I go to the internet, screen 2. I have too many stuff open on the internet. Okay. So anytime you go to the internet, I just lost everybody's faces. Anytime you go to the internet, you're gonna have to use a browser. When I say browser, it's just like the channel for you to search the web. Some people, if you have Apples, by default you have Safari. If you use Windows, by default you have Internet Explorer or Edge. But there's also others, like there's Bing, there's Microsoft Firefox. Why would you use one over the other? Preference, style, security. A lot of people feel uncomfortable using Google Chrome because they feel like it's not secure. I don't know how secure it is or isn't. If you're really interested in that, then you have to look that up yourself. But I personally use Google Chrome. If I were to use, I don't even know if I can look up Safari here. This is kind of what Safari looks like a bit. Microsoft, I already have Microsoft Edge. Firefox. It's just a different experience. They all do the same thing, just a different experience. Some people are more comfortable with others because they feel like it's safer. In this box is where your URL lives. What is the URL? That is essentially the address of the website that you're living. Like this is the TPF URL. This is the address to the TPF website. So if someone says, send me the URL, they're asking you to send them the direct link, the direct address to the website. That's all that is. If you find yourself using a website a lot, it might be helpful to star it, to bookmark it, to add it to your favorites. Why would you want to do that? Once again, just to create a quick and easy shortcut for yourself. Like right here on my bookmark bar are like shortcuts to the different stuff to the different websites or softwares or areas that I find myself using a lot. And instead of me having to type in www.thepattersonfoundation.org, I just created a quick and easy shortcut to where that is. And if you're using Chrome, how do you do that? You just star it. If you're using something different, the instructions are different, but I can easily, if that's something you're interested in doing, I can easily send you the instructions. We can easily do a session to work together. But I don't know what everyone is using, so I can't necessarily demonstrate that because I need to have that browser to show it to you. But just know that is an option you have. Why is it useful? It's a quick and easy way to get to the websites that you use a lot without having to type in the address to it every single time. Does anyone have questions on that? Something else I want to show people, because it does come up a lot, are hyperlinks. Let me go to my Gmail so I can best explain what do I mean when I say hyperlink. Gmail. Compose. So when you're sharing, like if I wanted to share a link with someone, probably not someone. Let me see, whose email do I have on here? Do I have Marla's? Yes, I have Marla. Awesome. If I wanted to share a link to the TPF website with Marla, I can certainly just paste the link here, and when I send it to her, she'll be able to get that link. But there's also something called a hyperlink, where I can say, hey Marla, visit the TPF website here. And then within the word here, I can connect the website link to it. This is called a hyperlink. Within the word here, I've already linked the website. So now my email looks a little bit clearer and it's not crowded because TPF has like an easy link, but there are some website URLs. It's like it could take up a whole 3 lines because the address just requires so many different stuff in it. So I'm going to walk through people how they do hyperlinks. This will especially be helpful for future tech excellence classes because hyperlinks will pop up again. But before I do that, what email platforms do people use on the screen? Does everyone have a Gmail that they use? Or are you more of an Outlook user?
Gmail, definitely.
Gmail for TPF.
Okay.
I have Gmail for TPF.
Okay. Does anyone have Outlook or use Outlook outside of TPF?
I use Outlook for real estate.
I do.
Okay. So we will simulate with both, starting with Google, with Gmail, because it's what everyone has. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to ask everyone to please open up your Gmail account, if you would so kindly, please. If you go to Gmail,
I love it.
you compose the email. I want you to open another tab and go to the TPF website. And once you're on the TPF website, I want you to copy the link to the URL, which is once again like the address of where the website is. And when you copy the TPF website link, I want you to return to that email that you're composing. And give me a thumbs up when you're at that email that you're composing. Okay. Okay. And so within that little new message pop-up button, on the bottom of that bar, probably directly below the B for bold, you should see a chain link. You don't have to click on it yet, but I just want you to see it. Now we are going to type in, like you can see the TPF website here, or visit the TPF website here, whatever you want to say. I just need you to include the word here somewhere. And just give me a thumbs up when you have your sentence. You got your sentence, Joni?
You can see the Patterson Foundation here.
Yeah, you can type. Yeah, you can. You can write any sentence. I just want to make sure it has a here somewhere in it.
Yeah, okay. I've got that.
And you got your TPF website link. Now
Yes.
I want you to double click on the word here.
I just erased it.
Essentially, we just want to highlight it. You can double click it. You can move to highlight it. This is a 1-hour session. And then once you have the here selected, you're going to click on the chain link, the horizontal chain link that is below the B for bold.
Okay.
And once you click on it, you're going to see 2 bars where you can enter stuff. It's going to show you the word here, but we want to focus on that second bar where it says, to what URL should this link go? That is where you are going to paste the TPF link that you just copied. And then you're going to click OK, because it's that easy. Are you okay, Elsie? And once you click OK, that here, which was previously in black font, is now blue. Why is it blue? Because it now has a hyperlink. And if you click on that hyperlink, you will see the little URL for TPF pop up. And now, whenever someone clicks on that link, it will directly, like a direct message mail, it will directly bring them to the TPF website. And that's a hyperlink. Whenever you tell someone, click here, or visit here, or please look at this here, you can do that exact same step. All you need is the URL address of the website, and you embed it. And I just use here as an example, but you could have done that in any of the words in your sentence. Or you can do it in multiple words. You could have done it in all the words of the sentence. Whatever you highlight, that's where the link will be embedded. I just did here as an example. as basic as that may seem, using hyperlinks is very helpful, especially when you're sending up emails and you need to share links with people, maybe to the Drive or to a folder on Drive or whatever it is. But in order for you to do a hyperlink, you're going to need the URL of whatever place you want to bring people to.
So is that similar what we have to do when we do the signature settings, when we have to change our signatures all the time?
Is that similar? What, the
Yeah.
hyperlink?
Yeah, when Stacy sends out the new signatures that we sometimes, at least back in the old day, we had to sometimes do something like that. It was always confusing. Then this last time she sent just a copy of the whole thing and we could just paste and cut and didn't have to link it.
So possibly. So I've never done it with Stacy where I've had to add my own links. I've only ever done it where she provided the own link. But if you had to add in the links yourself, then yes, that's what you had to do.
Okay, well, I remember it was confusing like 2 years ago, so.
That is what you had to do. You got that right. And does everyone feel how do people feel about adding the TPF signatures? Because every year Stacy does send those instructions. How do people feel with Stacy's instructions, the ones she sent? Are you good?
This last time went easier, but I've had times before where something wasn't happening, like the link or something, but this last time, whatever she did was much easier, user-friendly.
And I will say she continues to modify her process. And I will say doing it on the desktop is easier than on your phone. Because on your phone, so you're not doing anything wrong. It's just the phone is not recognizing that there are links here. Because even she and I had to play around with a little bit. It's like the phone was just rejecting it. So that's not you doing anything wrong, but the phone just ignoring the fact that I wanted to bring people to the TPF website. So any additional questions people may have?